Welcome, passionate historians and lovers of Southern heritage, to Southern soldiers of the Civil War brought to life in color for the first time. Over the next 10-plus minutes, we embark on an extraordinary voyage through the 1860s, where rare photographs of Confederate soldiers from Tennessee are unveiled in vivid color for the first time, thanks to the brilliance of artificial intelligence. These once faded images, captured amidst the smoke and struggle of the Civil War, now reveal the faces, uniforms, and spirits of men who shaped the South's destiny. From the fields of Shiloh to the camps of Chattanooga, each restored portrait tells a story of valor and sacrifice. This is more than a visual revolution. It's a heartfelt tribute to the lost soldiers of Confederacy, brought into the light of today. Private John Coffey New, Company A, 18th Tennessee Infantry, and later Captain, Company C, 23rd Tennessee Infantry. New enlisted on August 7, 1861 at Camp Truesdale. New escaped capture at Fort Donelson, and he and his comrades who escaped capture were assigned to Company H of the 23rd Tennessee. New first served as a first lieutenant in Company H and later became captain. He was captured at Hatcher's Run, Virginia on April 5, 1865, ending the war for him. After the war, New worked as a banker. He died in 1929 and is buried in Woodbury, Cannon County, Tennessee. Private John A. Arnold, Canesville Guards, Company I, 18th Tennessee Infantry. Arnold enlisted at Camp Truesdale on August 7, 1861 to serve for 9 months. He was discharged on November 25, 1861, and went on to serve as an officer in the 4th Tennessee Cavalry CS. First Lieutenant William Alexander Lafayette Blackburn, Company B, 37th Tennessee Infantry. Blackburn, born in Granger County and a resident of Tazewell, Tennessee, was a lawyer in civilian life. He enlisted on August 23, 1861 at Camp Ramsey. By May of 1862, he was dropped from the rolls, and a year later, he was located in Texas, where he opened a law firm. Blackburn became a judge and lived until 1908. Private Charles Wesley Sadler, Company K, 17th Tennessee Infantry. Sadler, a native of Putnam County, enlisted on June 17, 1861, in Jackson County, Tennessee. He was wounded on December 31, 1862, in the Battle of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, suffering a slight wound to the leg. He survived the war, returned to Putnam County, and died there in 1913. Private Alfred Buckner Pollock, Company B, 23rd Tennessee Infantry, Martins. Pollock enlisted on April 11, 1863, in Tullahoma, Tennessee. He deserted at Ringgold Gap, Georgia on September 10, 1863, and entered Federal lines. He took with him 1 Enfield rifle and accoutrements, 1 knapsack, 1 haversack, 1 canteen. He was rapidly released on September 29, 1863, after taking the oath of allegiance and taking an oath to stay north of the Ohio River until the war was over. Pollock survived the war, died in 1912, and is buried in Hohenwald, Lewis County, Tennessee. Corporal George M. Neely, Company D, 32nd Tennessee Infantry. Neely enlisted on November 2, 1861, at Camp Truesdale. He became a POW on February 16, 1862, at Fort Donelson, Tennessee, but was soon paroled. He was discharged from the military on November 20, 1862, at Murfreesboro, Tennessee, for being under age 18. Private William G. Thompson, Company C, 30th Tennessee Infantry. Thompson enlisted on November 22, 1861, in Tyree Springs. He became a POW on February 16, 1862, when Fort Donelson, Tennessee, capitulated to federal forces. He took the oath in September 1862 and returned home. First Sergeant Nathaniel Henry Clay Elliott, Pelham Guards, Company A, 1st Tennessee Infantry CS, Turneys. Elliott enlists as a private on April 29, 1861, in Pelham, Tennessee, later being promoted to first sergeant. For a time, he served as a ward master at Chimborazo Hospital in Richmond. He was wounded shot in the abdomen at the Battle of the Wilderness on May 5, 1864, and was on wounded furlough for an extended period of time. Private James N. George, Fayetteville Guards, Company G, 1st Tennessee Infantry CS, Turney's. George enlisted in April 1861 in Lincoln County, Tennessee. He was seriously wounded on September 17, 1862 at the Battle of Sharpsburg, Maryland, resulting in the amputation of his leg. He spent the rest of the war home on medical furlough. An unknown member of the Fayetteville Guards, Company G, 1st Tennessee Infantry CS, Turney's. The Fayetteville Guards were from Lincoln County, Tennessee. Private James K. Herron, Company D, 6th Tennessee Infantry, mortally wounded at Shiloh on April 6, 1862. James K. Herron of Somerville, Tennessee, was by all accounts one of the state's finest sons. Soon after the war started, the 20-year-old joined Captain William M.R. John's company of Tennessee Volunteers, which became Company D of the 6th Tennessee Infantry. He posed here with a Model 1855 rifle or rifle musket. During the Battle of Shiloh on April 6, 1862, he suffered a mortal wound and succumbed on April 19th. He lived 12 days and suffered much, reported the Memphis Daily Appeal. He leaves a large family of relatives and many friends to mourn his untimely death. Private Jesse C. Fairchild, Company D, 7th Tennessee Infantry CS. Fairchild was conscripted on March 10, 1864 in Hancock County, Tennessee. He died on June 21, 1864 in a hospital in Richmond, Virginia, due to disease. Junior Second Lieutenant John McClellan Withers, Company G, 6th Tennessee Infantry CS. Withers enlisted on May 15, 1861 in Jackson, Tennessee as a corporal and later became a lieutenant. He was slightly wounded on December 31, 1862 at the Battle of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He was wounded again on September 19, 1863 at the Battle of Chickamauga, Georgia. Upon returning to the regiment, he was placed on detached duty for an unknown period of time. 4th Corporal B. R. Goodrich, Company E, 6th Tennessee Infantry CS. Goodrich, a resident of Spring Creek, Madison County, Tennessee, enlisted in Jackson, Tennessee on May 15, 1861, serving for a time as 4th Corporal before later returning to the rank of private. Goodrich was mortally wounded on September 19, 1863 at the Battle of Chickamauga and died in October 1863 at Gate City Hospital in Atlanta. Gate City Hospital was actually Gate City Hotel, but the hotel was turned into a hospital out of necessity. Private Moreau Pinckney Estes, Company A, 6th Tennessee Infantry CS. Estes was born in 1840 in Haywood County, and he enlisted on May 21, 1861 in Jackson, Tennessee. He was killed on July 22, 1864 at the Battle of Atlanta. 2nd Sergeant James Alexander Polk Fancher, Company K, 16th Tennessee Infantry. Fancher enlisted on May 20th, 1861 at Camp Harris. On May 18, 1863, he furnished a substitute to serve in his place and was given a discharge from the military. 1st Sergeant Andrew Russell Denton, Company G, 43rd Tennessee Infantry. Denton enlisted as a private on November 20th, 1861 in Knoxville, Tennessee, later being promoted to 1st Sergeant. He was mortally wounded during the siege of Vicksburg on June 22, 1863, and died on June 26, 1863 in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Private Walton B. Gossett, Company B, 29th Tennessee Infantry. Gossett enlisted on September 2, 1861 in Knoxville, Tennessee. For a short period of time, he was detailed as a miller and as a teamster. His last records note that he was dropped from the rolls due to being absent without leave. Sergeant William A. Thomas, Company K, 31st Tennessee Infantry. Thomas, a blacksmith in civilian life, enlisted on March 18, 1862 in Trenton, Tennessee as a 3rd sergeant, but was not re-elected and served again as a private. Yet again later, he was once again made sergeant. Thomas was killed on November 30th, 1864 at the Battle of Franklin, Tennessee. Corporal William Herndon Brown, Company G, 154th Tennessee Infantry. Brown enlisted on June 3, 1861 in Memphis, Tennessee. In May 1862, he was detached to the Ordnance Department and served in that capacity for the remainder of his time in the military. He worked as a carpenter at the arsenal in Selma, Alabama for a time. In April 1864, he was either captured or deserted, and he took the oath of allegiance that same month. 14th Tennessee, Company B, California. Code G 2910 Infantry Abraham H. Yeager, Gettysburg, 1938. Photograph of A. H. Yeager, age 96, of Cleburne, Texas, a Confederate veteran at the Battle of Gettysburg's 75th anniversary in 1938. Private Archibald James Patterson, Company I, 18th Tennessee Infantry. Patterson enlisted on August 7, 1861 in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He became a POW when Fort Donelson, Tennessee capitulated to federal forces in February 1862, but he escaped in July 1862 and rejoined his unit. His military records show that he both deserted and was captured on November 25, 1863 at Chattanooga, Tennessee. This was the date of the Battle of Missionary Ridge. That added to the fact that Patterson was not released from POW camp until 1865 seems to indicate that he was captured rather than that he deserted. Patterson survived the war, died in 1928, and is buried in Murfreesboro, Tennessee,